Welcome to the E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Founded in 2013, the EHL is your next step on the path to college. Over the past decade, the EHL has established itself as the college placement leader on the East Coast. And now, here's your host, the commissioner of the Eastern Hockey League, Neil Ravin.
Thanks, Jim. Well, with that, let's bring in this week's E-Crew, Jeff and Anthony. How are we doing, guys?
Swell. Yourself, Commish?
Doing well. Chase slept through the night last night, so I have so much energy. It's amazing. So, but
you sound great.
Yeah, no,
you sound like you just started drinking coffee.
I'm like wired right now. But anyways, let's get our guest on now. Welcome to the podcast, Chiefs alumni, Dom Chirico. How's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm living the dream. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on. For those that can't see, he has a better microphone than all of us.
Yeah.
It's going right now. So it's pretty awesome. But Dom, I've actually been thinking about, we've had 4 alumni on so far. You're the 5th so far here in 2024. It's kind of the new thing we're doing in the second half of the season. And I had kind of thought we want to get Dom on eventually. Great personality, huge, the E Show is always a big fan of yours. But also, I noticed something this year with the Brockport Instagram. Are you becoming almost like the de facto face of Brockport hockey? It feels like 1 in every 3 posts is you.
I think that has kind of ended up happening a little bit. I've always been enjoying, being a part of social media, and I decided to start the More with 44 segment, and that just gave me a little bit more face time for sure.
Okay, because it feels like every time Brockport posts something, I'm like, there's Dom again. There's Dom again.
Oh yeah. What can I say? People love me.
I was gonna say you were a sharp-dressed man. You were not only could you talk the talk, but you could walk the walk. I remember from your days in Newington Arena.
Yep.
I try my best.
Did you have a cowboy hat in that closet at some point? Why don't I remember a cowboy hat?
It's always on a special occasion. It's always I've only done the cowboy hat once this year, but it might be coming out again this weekend.
You are from Overland Park, Kansas. I do remember.
So yeah, it's a great transition though, Jeff. So how do you go from Kansas to Connecticut to play junior hockey? Can you kind of walk us through that process?
Oh yeah, it was definitely a crazy ride to end up in Connecticut. Starting out in Kansas, there's not that much hockey there. When I was 14, I ended up going to Nebraska and then followed that up with Pennsylvania. And then, as I was looking for a junior team to play for, my first coach at the time, Neil Breen, reached out to me. And I was like, yeah, it's time to go out to Connecticut and try this out for real. So I spent my 2 years in the EHL there, and I loved it.
So you go from Neil Breen to Greg Heffernan to Brian Dickinson. Is anything similar?
No. Okay. I would say that all
those are 3 very different coaches, huh?
Yes, all 3 were very different. So that was kind of something that's, I might even still be in the adjustment period from coming to school because it's all 3 different minds.
Gotcha.
Were you ever lucky enough to go into the Breener Dome and do some lifts with Coach Breen? Have you seen it? Speaking of Instagrams, holy heck, Breener's machine. He's huge.
He is a machine. I never got the chance. Sometimes he ran our workouts, but I never got to see him lift weights.
Oh, damn. Check out his Instagram, just like you on SUNY Brockport.
I'm sure he has. But back to Brockport, you're one of now 21 EHL alumni on the roster. That has to be a topic of conversation from time to time in the locker room, correct?
Oh, it definitely is. Everybody, we've got our BJR guys with Grund, Felok, Victor Malzahn. We've definitely got our BJR guys. I'm the only guy from the Chiefs that's ever been here.
Yep.
And especially with Grund. Jeff, I know you were on the call for the New Hampshire showcase when we beat BJR in the playoff, or not the playoffs, but in overtime. And Grund actually had a penalty for that.
Yep.
And I scored the game winner. And I always,
I remember that one too.
Yep.
Every couple weeks. Every couple weeks.
I love that.
You're also on the same team as Matt Anastasio and Tobin Winslow, and I know that you played against those guys in the wild card game. And yes, I know. Sorry, Dom, you weren't on the right side for that one.
that definitely did happen. And I was actually talking to Matt this week about how he got hit in the mouth that game, actually, and he didn't finish that game. And I was telling him, I was like, I don't know how you left that game, like how you weren't able to, because if I got hit in the mouth, I would have kept playing that whole game because I mean, that went to overtime, and
Yeah.
I know we had the lead with, I don't know, three minutes left or something. So that was a crazy ending too.
Yeah. It's funny. All these games that we're talking about were like 2022, right? So, but clearly people don't forget, right? I guess that's the mantra of this.
And actually,
Um,
Neil, I have to ask Dom about how is it to play with Neil's favorite all-time EHL player, Andrew Harley?
I don't
Oh.
have the jersey on, Jeff, so I'll go get it
I
fast.
know. I actually am surprised you don't have it on with him being a SUNY Brockport.
Yes.
Yeah, I love playing with Harley. He sits across from me in the locker room, and we hang out all the time.
There we
He's a
go.
great dude.
Yeah.
Neil's favorite all time. He's a senior now. That made me feel like wicked old when I was doing research. I was like, Andrew Harley's a senior. Oh my god, I'm out.
But we talked about, the process of getting yourself from Kansas to Connecticut, and then we kind of skipped it. How did you find Brockport? Walk us through that recruitment process that you chose that school.
So I was actually born in just outside of Buffalo, New York. So I have a bunch of family that's still there in Buffalo. And when I came my second year, I showed up and I talked to Greg and I told him how I wanted to play in the SUNYAC. I wanted to be closer to that family. And, Ray, half was awesome. He helped me get. I went my first weekend there. We hadn't even played any games for that second season yet. He got me. I visited Fredonia and Brockport that first weekend, and when I went to Brockport, I was like, "This is awesome. I love the atmosphere here," and it kind of ended up working out. So I was super happy about that.
Good.
And Dom, I know we're zigging and zagging a lot, but going back to your EHL time, like you said, you play for Coach Bree, you play for Coach Heffernan. Something that obviously a lot of us notice when you look at your stat sheet is you kind of jumped in production with Coach Heffernan from Coach Bree, but both seasons you were great. I mean, 20 points in your first season with the Chiefs back in 2020, 5 goals, 15 assists. And then I remember that 21-22 season very well. Like you said, I think that was the year you had the game winner at your showcase, 8 goals, 20 assists. What can you talk about with the Chiefs as far as the Chiefs and the EHL that helped you kind of develop, be such an offensive defenseman and the leader that you were too? Because we all saw that you were a heck of a leader for that Chiefs team.
I think that it was kind of something that, the first year it was a learning curve. It was, juniors for the first time. I had a bunch of great guys that were on that team. Max Phillips, Ethan Rodriguez were our captains that first year. And they, kind of took me under their wing and I learned a lot from them. And we had a great team and a lot of good defensemen that year. So it was kind of a lot of learning that year. And that second year, I got the chance to be the captain and use what I had learned from them that first year. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You gotta have those tough conversations. And I think even as that second year started, I didn't jump off and fly right away anyway. I think that, I had to get comfortable and Hef was really good with, telling me, this is the right way to do things, this is the wrong way. And, with the Chiefs, we got treated really well. So it was always great. I got to practice, if I wanted to go practice with the P team and get some extra ice time, that was always a great thing that we always had accessible with us. And we had a shooting area and, if you wanted to get better, the opportunities were there.
For sure.
And you were an Ironman too in that last year. You played all 46 games. I mean, all jokes aside, like it seems like all throughout your career, you're a guy that seems to play a lot of games. So what would you say to other guys that are younger like yourself as far as what do you do to take care of yourself and make sure you are healthy to play a whole long season like that?
Yeah, I actually played every single game both years. The first year was shortened, so I kind of
that's right.
I wanted to
We try not
I
to go
wanted
back
to
to
hit
there, but
that.
we always do.
Yeah. I think it was the second year too, I was battling I actually tore my
Is there an
PCL before
injury?
the season
Yeah, I
started.
do remember that.
So it was something where, I had to kind of manage myself again through the start of the year to kind of get used to that new knee that I was playing on. But I think it was a lot of nutrition and being able to really hydrate myself. My roommate Garth Swanson used to see me every day. I had a jug of water and I drank a gallon of water every day. And at the same time, every day it seemed like I was finishing the jug of water and it was, I was treating my body the right way to be able to play that many games because we don't play that many games in college and it's kind of, sometimes you miss playing games every, 3 or so days.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure. And you mentioned the college schedule. It's a good transition because looking at what you guys have coming up and what's happened recently for Brockport, one thing that stands out to me is, every game, it doesn't matter where the records stand, right? You look at your recent results, you lost to a team in Potsdam, which by record standings, they're towards the bottom of the standings, right? But then you tie Plattsburgh the next day, who's in the top 5 nationally ranked. What's that conversation like in the locker room so that prospective players can understand that whether you're a top 5 team in the country or a bottom 5 team in the country, it's a battle every night. What's that conversation like in the locker room?
I think that first off, the SUNYAC is something where every night you have to be able to show up every single night and play the best that you can because there is not really a tomorrow that you can jump off to. In the EHL, you can play 46 games and you can drop a game or two that you're supposed to win. But in the SUNYAC, it's every game and I think most last year we had 12 freshmen or something, and we
Yeah.
we learned very quickly that we every game's a playoff game. You need the points every single time. You have to try to get out and get those 2 points. You can't start the first period and be like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm feeling good tonight." You have to go out and you have to be able to play every game like a playoff game. And Potsdam, we played a good game and we played the system the right way. We just didn't end up on the right side of the scoreboard. And Plattsburgh, I think we they're the 7th ranked team in the country, so they're a really good hockey team, and we just had to stick to our process. And doing that, you tie a game against them.
Yeah, for sure.
Dom, we were talking about that goal you scored against BJR. What about that first college goal against SUNY Geneseo? Can you take us through that and how did that feel to get your first NCAA goal?
Yeah, that was a really cool moment for me. My parents actually came up that weekend, and there was you know, whatever happened, the puck popped out to the top of the circles, and I came in and I scored, and it was kind of like a weight off the back, even though I didn't go into the game trying to score a goal. I've kind of switched my style of play, but when I did score the goal, it was a weight off the back, and it felt good to kind of to to be able to score that goal. And it was at Geneseo, and they have some pretty good crowds, so it's fun to go there and play, and especially to score. It felt really good.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and can you talk about that a little bit too, Dom, as far as is it something with Coach Dickinson and the staff as far as we talked about you being offensively skilled with the Chiefs. Not that you aren't anymore, but just the points, haven't come yet. Or have you kind of changed so you have kind of changed your skill set a little bit as far as your role with SUNY Brockport?
Yeah, I think when you jump to the next level in college, you don't there's a lot of skilled guys that were able to put up points in juniors, and they were able to, I play with Ryan Bro, and he put up points
Yep.
more than
Yeah,
me
Pro
in
Tech.
in the EHL. So there's guys that are able to put up points the same way. And sometimes you need a guy that can go kill penalties, or a guy that can be shut down on defense. And that I've tried to move my style of play to be able to play every Friday and Saturday. And that's kind of what another big adjustment come college hockey is, that not everybody's going to be the top guy.
Yep.
See, kids, take notes at home. This is a stats-driven world. You don't always need to be a stats leader to be an impactful player. Dom
Well,
Chirico is an
well, and
example.
that's the big thing too, is that you know, we want to win hockey games. It's all about
Right.
winning, and come the end of college, and or whatever 5 years down the road, I'm not gonna know how many points I had against Geneseo on a Friday night. I'm just gonna know if we
Sure.
won that game and how it felt to be with the team winning that game.
Absolutely.
Now, keeping on with the college, because I got to uh, go with the EHL on the trip this year to SUNY Brockport, SUNY Fredonia. And I went on the tour with Brian Dickinson. He was talking about how he's the rink manager and that players can go on the ice pretty much whenever they want. Is that something that you try to take advantage of along with the rest of the team?
Yeah, we have a lot of guys that go out there to get extra ice time. There's nothing on a day like today. We'll have the circ where the rink is opens at probably 6 a.m. and we don't have practice till 3:30. And I think there's guys going out at like 10:30, 10:45 today, um, to go get some extra work in. I know we have a game tomorrow, so it won't be nothing too heavy, but a little bit of to be able to touch some pucks and get some feel and some edge work. But the other thing with that is with him being the manager, he helped me get a job. I drive the Zamboni now, so that's pretty cool.
What
love
is up
this.
with EHL
Ah!
players and being able to drive the Zamboni?
Woohoo!
I don't
Anthony,
know.
Swiss Army knife, be able to do it all, baby.
I think what it means is that we're gonna have to figure out how to do it next, myself, you, and Jeff, right? So
Yeah.
that way we can
100%.
sub in at the finals if need be. But
I'm
you
in.
mentioned the game tomorrow, so this weekend you get two teams ahead of you in the standings, in Oswego and Cortland. Then you get two teams that you're sandwiched in between the standings. Next weekend, Buff State and Fredonia wrap up against Morrisville. You're right there on that in or out of the playoffs line. How do you guys just go one game at a time these final five?
It's all like I said a little bit earlier. It's every game's a playoff game, and
Yeah.
whether it's Oswego tomorrow or Portland on Saturday, we we gotta win games because you want. Last year we didn't make the playoffs, and that was a
Yeah.
terrible feeling to be sitting on the couch watching. You know, Buff State beat Cortland, something that on paper you didn't think would happen, but it's one game, and we've shown all year that no matter what in one game, we can get the job done. We had earlier in the year we played the Thanksgiving tournament against Skidmore and Salve,
Yep.
and at the time they were both ranked, and we won that tournament. And if we play one game, and I believe with our style of play, one game we can do great things.
For sure. For sure. And then one last question to wrap it up. You're going to walk into practice this afternoon. Are you going to tell the other 20, 21 guys that you were the first EHL alumni on the podcast?
Uh, I don't know. I don't know what I'll definitely tell them I was on the podcast. I think they'll love that. And I always get a little bit of extra attention because I am on the Instagram so much. So they know I love the camera. So
So then
Beat that chest, Dom, you beat it.
who may be the most jealous so we can make a note to maybe have them on next?
ooh.
You don't have to answer that.
I know Harley will give me a lot of
Yeah,
crap
Okay.
for it.
Okay. He's been on before though, right? So I will
I know
say that.
he has been on before.
All right, so that's a fair answer. Fair answer. Well, we appreciate you coming on. And as always, good luck down the stretch. We're gonna be cheering for Brockport big time, obviously.
Thank you guys. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Great seeing you, Dom.
Yeah, best of luck this season.
All right. Yeah, we'll just cut this out now. That was great.
Woo.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thank
Good
you.
seeing you, Dom.
Thank you
I
guys
love the
for having me.
microphone. The microphone's so clear.
Yeah, seriously,
man.
I might have to get one of those. That thing sounds
Do you have
crisp.
the
I
pop
think-
filter?
Yeah.
I think I got it on Amazon for like, I don't know, not more than $30. There's no way.
Wow.
There's no
It
way.
sounds like you could read news headlines for NPR or something. So
Yeah, well, I've
Spooky
started-
boy.
I've started doing my I do PA now yesterday I did a swim and dive meet. I was doing PA,
Oh my
so
God.
My man.
oh
Yeah.
wait, weren't you also doing the PA or like the hype video for Brockport, right?
I do. I actually welcome us to the ice. It's a big thing where
Yeah, no, because I
yeah.
remember Chris and I were talking about that on air. It's like,
Yeah.
as broadcasters, whenever a player says, "Oh, I want to maybe go into this industry," I always encourage them because like
Yeah.
it's a competitive field, but for good reason. It's fun. It really is.
For
It's
sure.
super awesome.
Sweet. Well,
Super awesome.
I appreciate you coming on at 8 a.m. I know this is a little
Yeah,
early,
no,
but
thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
right.
I woke up, I'm like, this is gonna be a good day.
that's great, man. Cool. Well, we'll be
Awesome.
watching and we'll stay in touch. All right.
Yeah, let's go
Okay.
Brockport.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
man.
Have a good one.
See you, buddy.
You too.
See you, Dom.
Thanks again to Dom Chirico for coming on the podcast this week. Drives the Zamboni now, guys. Does some PA now. I mean, listen, that's
So proud of him. He's growing up.
Shout out to you, Jeff.
Like EHL dads.
But
you
it's
know?
but
Like,
it's just, you know what it is? It's like one of those things where you just like try everything. Why not?
Yeah.
Like why not? Right? Like
no, but Neil, in all seriousness, like how about that for some expertise and some notes for we've been trying to help all these younger players that may listen to this. Maybe you're not in the EHL yet and you listen to this, but Dom Chirico is a shining example of that, right? He talks about how he transitioned from being an offensive defenseman in juniors, really found his groove there, and then gets to Brockport, plays with some guys like Ryan Bro, he mentioned from the Pro Tech Junior Ducks, EHL alum, that maybe there's some guys that are a little more skilled offensively than you. So, okay, I'll switch gears and I'll become this kind of defenseman, and then I'll drive your Zamboni, and then I'll pee it. Like, that's phenomenal. Like, that's what you have to do. And I think there's a lot of young players and guys these days that that don't do that. They say, no, I'm X or I'm Y, and I need to fit that model, or I'm out and I'm going somewhere else. That's not always the way to do it.
for sure. For sure. But we'll get into the EHL action now, what's taking place in this current season. And it feels like with every week, guys, something new happens that makes the standings just that much more interesting. So we'll start breaking it down in Around the E Show.
Let's take a look at what's going on around the E Show.
Around the E Show is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code EHLB1. That's EHLB1 for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
We're going to work our way from south to north this week because my
They're
biggest
still weird, huh?
like the first thing I want to address is growing up, Jeff, we remember the tough days for the Red Sox. Dom had a Red Sox hat on, right?
Ugh.
When the Yankees just owned them forever, right? And never forget growing up.
You're my daddy.
Exactly
Yankees
where
are
I'm
my
going.
daddy.
The Yankees are my daddy. That was Pedro Martinez and the Who's Your
Yes.
Daddy chant and all that.
Yep.
Is that gonna be Jake Hugison's chant to the Little Flyers now? Like, I only say that, right, because he's 3-0 against
Yep.
the Little Flyers. The last two starts have been shutouts, and the start before that, he stopped 54 of 55. He owns the Little Flyers right now, and the Little
He
Flyers
does.
had won 6 straight games.
Another good trade, huh?
Not
I,
gonna
I
lie,
think
I-
he
Trades
just.
that we have this year.
I think Jake just owns the South Division at this point because
maybe he does.
ever since the trade, he's just been lighting it up, or should I say, quite the opposite, shutting it down
Yeah.
for other teams. Because his first start with Maryland was actually against his former team in the 87s, and while he was on the losing end of that game, he stopped at least like 35 shots. He was brilliant, and he kept it a 1-goal game.
Mhm.
And then, of course, he gets the win just a few games later. So same thing with the Little Flyers, just a lot of shots. Jake is just, steady goaltender, always in position. And yeah, he's been running with his chance now in Maryland.
And I
And
bring
it's
it
funny
up,
too,
right?
'cause, like,
Sorry,
just
Jeff,
real
you
quick,
go.
it's just funny. No, it's okay. I was just gonna say it's funny that, again, another example of what we always talk about, right? That maybe certain teams you don't work out with, but teams you do. Just look at the polar opposite of his numbers when with the Terriers. I know he was part of a rotation there to start the season, but
Well,
2,
I
3,
would
0,
argue
1.
because he still had a really good save percentage with the Boston Junior Terriers.
Yeah,
And-
905. Not his
Yeah.
958 that he has now.
That-
6-3
that's-
record
that's
on
true.
6 more goals against, But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in that, like, that's a credit to him, right? You make a change mid-season, you found a different home. Not that it wasn't a good home with Cody and Neal with the Boston Junior Terriers, but because we saw that they definitely could have used Hugeson later on the way things shook out with the goalie room. But yeah, just helping this Team Maryland team rip up the standings. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, and it all comes up because we talked about another goalie trade so often in Ryan Crouchaw, and justifiably so. He's 10-0 or 11-0 now. But the difference is, like, the numbers aren't really far off. If you look at the goals against and the save percentage, Hugoson may be better. But as Eric Proshin said to me on the phone the other day, why do we only have 6 wins of his 9 starts? I'm like, I'm not going to answer that one. He goes, we don't score goals at the rate the Apple Court do, right? But we're in this South Division.
Nobody does. New York's leading the league in goals for, so
exactly. But Maryland right now is in the middle of it, right? 35 games played, 39 points, right there, the 3 seed, right? Right above them, 87s, 1 fewer game played, 3-point lead. The Bears, despite, dating back to December, have really struggled, right? They didn't win a single game in December. Basically went, we'll call it 500 in January, but they still somehow have a 4-point lead, which is just credit to how great of a start they were off to.
They were like 19-2-1.
Yeah, it was pretty stupid, to be honest, right? But you then look, like, after Maryland, Little Flyers, Huntsman, Philly, are we almost in like 3 separate tiers here, where it's Bears 87s now, and then Maryland Little Flyers, and then Huntsman, Philly, or am I just getting ahead of myself? And in 1 week from now, someone's going to rip off 3 straight wins, and everything looks different, I should say.
I think you're onto something, because I mean, now you got to start looking at games played, right? And these guys are all around 35, like you're saying. Neil, Huntsman, unfortunately, they're in probably the worst spot in the South. They've played the most games, and they're 1 point out of bye-bye land in the 6th spot of not going to the playoffs. So time to call my friend Zach Overholzer and get a check on his well-being. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of right, because for Maryland Little Flyers, as hot as they both have been, with around the same games left as the Bears and 87s, Little Flyers, you're still 8 points out of first. And so I guess it is kind of like a 3-tier, but like you said, Neil, I mean, the way it shifts so fast, and it shifts multiple times, it seems like, throughout the week. Tune in next week, we'll find out.
I would say it's closer to 2 tiers right now, because I mean, Jeff, you talk about how it's an 8-point deficit for the Little Flyers from first place, but I don't know, with this
only 4 out of second, right?
With this division,
that's 2 wins.
The Little Flyers could very easily rip off a couple wins and jump up to like second, maybe not first place quite exactly, but I mean, the Little Flyers, along with Team Maryland right now, seem to be the 2 hottest teams in the division. Maryland's 4-0-1 in their last 5. You talk about the Little Flyers, they had a really good run before running into that brick wall that's Jake Hugoson. So I think it's definitely those top 4 teams sort of jockeying for position, and then you have the Huntsman and PHC trying to keep their season alive, trying to stay out of 6th place.
And they both have played the most games in the division. Huntsman, Jeff said 37, PHC 36, everybody else 35 or lower, right? But we'll check back in with a pulse of this next week, I guess you could say, right? We'll go Central next. This is... It was hard. It was hard to say that this was possible 2 months ago, but the Apple Corps are 1 point behind the Railers now. I mean, they have like 1 more game, right? But the Railers went through that stretch where they lost to the Wizards in overtime and then lost to the Express. Of course, they got a text from 2 East Division coaches who said, "Welcome to the East." Railers. I was like, wow. Didn't know we were all watching that closely.
Leaving them unnamed for now?
No, definitely unnamed. I don't need to create any more.
People can make educated guesses.
Well, sure. And last time someone said that maybe it was Anthony, and then the Railers took that personally, right? So, but it's just like
bulletin board material time.
It's huge, because if these 2 teams face off in the Central Division Finals, it's not a trip around the corner to play Game 3 for whoever gets to travel for Game 3. Apple Corps to the Railers is a good, is almost a 3-hour trip, right?
Yeah.
And our brackets, when we get there, if the Apple Corps are hosting Game 3, guys, it's a big difference than the Railers hosting Game 3. I just and 3-game series go like this, like you drop one, it could be over.
The momentum
Also,
shifts are so drastic with 3-game series, right? Because if one goes, say the first game, I feel like a lot of times the first game goes to overtime or the second game.
Yep.
Obviously there's only 3, so but yeah, I feel like the first or second usually goes to OT, and then it's like, all right, who's more drained? Who scored the game winner? Who got the momentum boost? Who got the dagger to their chest, per se? What were you gonna say, Anthony?
I was gonna say, because I know we're talking about the playoff race, but I also just want to talk about, the regular season with what Apple Core is doing right now, because I know we've been talking about them a lot. And for the fans listening, just to know how big of a turnaround this is for Apple Core, they're on a 14-game winning streak. They've won 26 games so far this season, right? Their winning streak alone has matched their win total from each of their last 4 seasons, either match or surpass.
Like,
Because the last 4 years, they've either had
Nice.
12
Yep.
wins, 13 wins, 14 wins. Well, now they just got 14 in a row, and they're 1 point behind the Railers. And I
Good
think the
nugget,
fact
Anthony. I like
I think the fact that they're still behind the Railers, I think is also just a testament of how good they've been all season.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Just like
how
we
good they've
talked
been
about
for
the
the
Bears
last
in
couple of
87s.
seasons.
Yep.
Right, just like we talked about in the South with the Bears, how they built their lead. The Railers, same thing. They looked like they were running away with the Central, and then, yeah, not so much. They came back down to earth, and the Apple Core is still in space.
got to admit, I read that in your short shifts story the other day, Anthony, and then I read it again, and then I read it again, and I was like, wait a second, they really have won more games in this winning streak than they won the entire year last year?
Yeah,
Like,
just a
like,
streak of a
that-
season of a 46-game
Well,
season.
no, because I wrote that when they had the 12-game winning streak,
I
and it
know.
matched the 2021 season and the 21-22 season.
it's the fact that it even matched it.
That's
Like at that
staggering.
time, it's staggering. Exactly, Jeff. It's the perfect word for it. So,
Mhm.
as for the rest of the Central Division, are right there, kind of in a log jam right now. Providence, Chiefs, Rhode Island. 2 point lead for Providence over the Chiefs. 2 point lead for the Chiefs over Rhode Island. Obviously, the best position of those three to be in is the 3 seed, because then you at least guarantee yourself more than one game in the playoffs. You're not in the play-in game. And for the Rough Riders, yes, they're still 9 points behind Rhode Island, but they still have 13 games left, so they can get hot.
Mhm.
It's gonna take a pretty good run for them to get past Rhode Island. So we'll go East Division next, and look at that, 50 points.
What a place to be.
Yeah, what a place to be is right. 50 points for the Express, 3-game winning streak. 50 points for the Wizards, 3-game winning streak. Rangers 4 points behind. Terriers, I think officially, guys, we probably have to put them in at 4.
Or so, yeah, it feels like it's starting
It is
to
an
be like
8-point gap between them and the Rangers, but it would take them going on a run paired with a 5-game losing streak, probably.
Right. And with the Seahawks so far below them too, you're literally the only team, I think, out of the 23 that's like stuck in neutral.
Yeah, so I don't want to like offend Cody when I text him later today.
No.
I may say like, hey, you could lock in that play-in game ice if you want to put a game on the schedule right now. Because we're basically a month away. Like, let's just say that, right?
Yeah, 55 days, I think I saw on the tracker earlier.
Well, from the finals, right? I'm talking
From the finals.
From the play-in game, we're like a month away.
Game.
Yeah,
Game.
Playoffs. So, and I do want to call out the Bandits too, guys. They've been playing a lot better as of late. It's still a 6-point gap between them and the Seahawks, but they've beat the Seahawks a couple times recently.
Yep.
They are putting some pressure on the team on the Cape to get out of that 6th spot. And as we've said numerous times, everyone has to remember the last place team in the East Division does not make the playoffs. So wrap it up with the North Division. Yes, I did not notice this, Chris, until you texted me. You were only a few wins away from clinching the division. So if the Avalanche get to 61, it's basically over. 62, it's officially over. Again, we never do math in the podcast, right? But for Seacoast, they have 11 games left, 22 points, plus the 39 equals 61. For those that had a quick calculator out there. So if the Avalanche get to 61, they probably already hold the tiebreaker, right? But if they get to 62, Seacoast physically can't get there, right? So that's just 4 wins.
Doesn't it feel like it wasn't that long ago that we were like, uh-oh.
Yes.
Avalanche in trouble, hovering around 500. That was like 14, 15 games in, I want to say. And now, oh yeah, Big C is texting me and you in our group chat. And
I couldn't
recognize
even
all
keep up
scores
the
and-
other day with that three. Like, I didn't even know he had texted you and I, Jeff. And then I
Yeah.
looked down. I'm like, how do I have 48 text messages?
You're a busy man. We were going back and forth. There's some reactions in there. You know me, big reaction guy on the iPhone. So, yeah, it was a good mix of banter with Coach Sorella and some more commitments on the way for them too. Congratulations. We won't announce them yet because they're not officially official. But yeah, the Avs are go Avs, go Avs, go Avs, roll Avs, roll Avs. They're getting commitments. They're getting wins. They're destroying people. 7-4 over the Rangers. I guess we'll leave that game at that.
They'll just have these random
We'll see if that
outbursts with
happens
their
again.
offense. It's insane.
Yep.
Dave Bassine, huh? David Bassine is he's pretty good at hockey.
Yeah.
And he screwed me in fantasy, so thanks, David. Appreciate it. And we'll get to that in a little bit.
We'll
but,
get to that for sure. Before
man,
we
he had
jump
a
to
good
the
month.
EHLP, though, let's put you both on the spot. Avalanche
Ooh, love
and
that.
Railers both have 54 points in 34 games so far. Applecor 53 and 35. Express 50 and 33. Wizards 50 and 34. Regular season champion has never won the playoff championship. Who wants it, I guess, is the question. Or who shouldn't want it? Like like who wins this regular season championship? And do you think they could actually break the curse?
I think Chris Sorella wants it because he doesn't believe in that kind of beep. I think
But
he's really
they
like,
just
"Ah,
won
it's
it.
whatever."
They just won that last year, Jeff, and it didn't work out for them, right?
True.
They
But
got
then
to the
if you-
championship game. They almost broke it.
But careful with that conversation because you know where that conversation is going to go now.
Yes.
That they were this close to winning it. And again, we will not dig up any dead bodies from last season. But I feel like he's probably the one team I can think of, and I'd say probably Coach Bertoni and the Railers too, that they don't really believe in that kind of stuff. And it would be an accomplishment for the team, but not the overall goal and mission.
Yep.
Who's actually going to do it? I mean, if you're being a betting man, the Apple Core on a 14-game winning streak, they're hotter than anyone else. Probably go, I don't know, what are the odds for that? I'm still new to DraftKings, our wonderful sponsor, and the rest of the good betting books, but probably pretty good odds.
I bring it up because first off, those 5 teams have won 31 straight games, right?
Jesus.
And it's kind of fitting. The final game of the regular season, 6 p.m. on Monday, March 4th, Applecor versus Huntsman. So
Ooh.
that could be a game where the Huntsmen are trying to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, play for the
And
lives.
I could have the regular season trophy in my hands to hand to the Applecor.
At a showcase.
Like
Applecor looking to complete their 25-game winning streak just because they're never going to lose again.
That just gave me like deja vu. That's like Colorado Rockies 2007. Remember they went on like a freakish run just to get in, and then they went all the way to the World Series to get swept by the Red Sox. But anyways,
Back when the times were good on.
I digress.
Back when the times were good on Yaki Way. Now,
to the EHLP, Jeff, to the EHLP. So we'll go reverse direction in the EHLP. We'll start up north, work our way to the south. First, New England Division. Adirondack has got 48 points. Again, we never really do math on the air, Jeff, but the teams in the EHLP play 42 games. So you look then below Adirondack, Avalanche have a max of 22 points left, and Wolves have a max of 24 points left. Both of them actually, it works out. Avalanche have 33, Wolves have 31. So you add both those with their max total, it both gets them to 54. So that puts Adirondack in a position where 6 points, they probably hold the tiebreaker, just like the Avalanche and the EHL, but 7 points, you clinch the division. So
you start getting the text to Coach Murkowski then about locking in the 1 seed? We're talking about Terrors
not-
EHL?
no, he does not. Glenn Murkowski does not bother me the way Chris Strella does. Record that.
Shocking.
Anyway.
A 7-2 thrashing of the Avalanche, too, and the Avalanche are right behind them in second place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Adirondack's
feels like
pissed.
it feels like a team that's very motivated, Anthony.
After
Very
last year,
motivated.
I mean, because last season they gave up that last goal with like 5 seconds left in that deciding game 3 against New Hampshire. So yeah, I agree with you guys. They are out for blood.
For sure.
Yep.
Four wins, just like the Avalanche in the EHL. They clinched the 1 seed. And as we mentioned a few times on this podcast, if the standings stay where they are, I think everyone would be okay with that because that would mean they face Vermont and the Wolves face the Avalanche, and geographically, it makes sense, right?
It's a beautiful thing.
To the Boston division we go. Look who's in second place, guys.
Valley Junior Warriors shooting up on a 7-game bender.
Yeah,
Nice.
now they have played 4 more games than the Rangers. Okay, we will call that out. The Rangers,
only at 29. They got a lot of work left, huh?
Yeah, one point behind those Warriors. So you would think that in the 4 games that they have left, if they could get 2 points at the possible 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they would pass them. But if Valley could continue on this stretch, it's huge because remember, 1 and 2 get a bye, and then 3 has to play 6 and 4 has to play 5. And as Dom Chirico said, yeah, those are best of 3 series, whatever. Right? It's different from college. Playoffs are playoffs. What took place in the regular season, you have to throw it away. What would you rather be? The 2 seed sitting at home waiting to figure out who you're going to play, or have to get out there and beat the 6 seed? We've
that's
seen
the
it.
rest versus rust, Neil. I don't know.
Yes, yes. That'll be the title of the first podcast in March, right?
Yeah.
But we saw this last year, right? The Rangers had a wagon of a season and then ran into Nick Piazza, who almost knocked them out, right? It just takes a goalie getting hot. So something that we need to keep an eye on, I should say, in that Boston division is what's the battle between the Warriors and the Rangers right now for that 2-3 matchup. I mean, Expressive
credit to the Railers for running away with this. It seems like they're going to kind of take first place. Wasn't so sure for a long time with them, the Rangers, but
29 wins, not a big deal so far.
29-3.
Yeah, the Expressive only played 1 more game than the Rangers, so yes, there's a 5-point gap between them and the Rangers, 6 points with Valley, but when all the games equal out, it could be very interesting for that 2-3 battle.
Now, Neil, I know we're going to be controversial here because we were just talking to Dom Chirico about stats aren't everything, right? But what is our all-time best differential? Because the Railers are approaching plus 100 on the year.
I've never actually tracked. I've never really tracked differential before.
I don't know if I've seen a century mark for a differential in the positives. I've seen it in the negatives of some bad teams, but
yeah, I've never really tracked differential before. So I guess I'd have to dig through the history books, I guess you could say. Pull up every standings and just jot them down. But I will keep an eye on that, Jeff, for sure.
Right.
Wrap it up with the South Division. Huntsman now up to 12 straight wins. 87's up to 3 straight wins. Only 1 more game against each other on February 24th, I believe. It's actually an EHL and EHLP doubleheader in Pennsylvania that day. So it feels like, I mean, again, I guess we'll do the quick math here. The Renegades have 11 games left, so a max of 22 points, which gets them to 49. So the Huntsmen have almost already guaranteed themselves a bye, right? I guess they actually probably have guaranteed themselves either one of the 2, and the 87s are basically right there too. So we're basically almost locked in with those 2 getting the buys. 3, 6, 4, 5. Those matchups are still kind of to be determined. Renegades.
Where did the season go? What the hell?
Well, I know, right?
How are we at this point, boys? How are we at this point?
Well, you want to talk? I mentioned 3 tiers earlier. You cannot look at that division and not say it's not 3 tiers, right? You got the 2 teams that are going to get the buys. You get the 2 teams and the Renegades and Little Flyers battling for the 3 seed versus 4, and then Union versus Chiefs battling for 5 versus 6. So it's just all things to keep an eye on as we continue down the stretch here. Recording this podcast and dropping it. I love it, Jeff. Perfect. Thursday, February 1st. Oh, it's just so
you know, Neil, you talked about the Bridgewater Bandits improving their play. I think Union has too.
Oh yeah.
Even when they haven't been winning games, I'll watch how they play, and it's definitely a night and day difference. I was talking to Sam Taffel a couple times when he visited Jersey Shore Arena, and you can sort of see the improvements that they're coming along. They're still a very young team too. And now they passed the Chiefs, so they're hoping to, maybe try to win some playoff games now.
For sure. For sure. But speaking of winning, we do have to acknowledge our next winner of the eShow Fantasy Challenge, and we'll do that right now.
Now it's time for the eShow Fantasy Challenge. Follow along on the EHL app, available now for free on both Apple iOS and Android.
Jeff, I won't spend as much time on our Yahoo League this week because now my team is 8-8. We are just so mid. It's so
I'm sorry, don't
frustrating.
laugh at me.
Like,
Misery
it's
needs
so-
company. I'm just laughing because
I win one, I lose one, I win one, I
lose.
lose one. The only thing I don't get, the NHL's on break right now, but for some reason it's had like 5 games the last 2 nights.
Yeah,
Like-
weird and annoying. I got how many points you got? Because I got 0.40.
I have like 12 right now. I don't know. I'm so annoyed. I just want to get in and then hopefully my team can get hot at the right time, right?
I don't know if does our league suck or is it like parity? Because between there's 6 teams that are above 500 and then 6 teams that are at or below 500.
Yeah, it
Including
makes
yourself
it
and
makes
myself.
it makes
Me
literally
and
no
Jim
sense.
McCabe are in the race for the #1 overall pick in next year's draft as he's 2-14 and I'm 3-13. So
Yeah.
things are going real bad for Team Meek Mills. That's a credit to Alo, who was the
Oh
first
my
one to ever call me that. So
Yes, but I think, hey Jeff, now that we're in February, I probably would venture to guess that your Yahoo team may not make the playoffs, right? So you
What
can
playoffs?
you can turn your attention to DraftKings instead.
And I have been. The NFL's been a fickle monster. The NHL is kind of hard, but yeah, I'm gonna have to take some more notes from our generous partner and DraftKings about the NHL. I've won, I think, 1 bet on the Bruins. I'm kind of. I don't know about you, Neil. Are you scared to bet on your Red Wings and Bruins? Because sometimes I'm like, ugh, hard head.
Sometimes it makes the fist pumps in the living room a little bit more emphatic.
True.
If you do have money on them.
True. So if you do have that money, like Neil said, with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting part of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. Ooh, I don't know about that. Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, they're pretty fast. But this week, new customers can bet $5 and get 200 instantly in bonus bets. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers can bet just $5 in the NHL and get 200 instantly in bonus bets. Yes, folks, $5 on the NHL gets you 200 instantly in bonus bets, and that's only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. And do you have a gambling problem out there? If you do, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER, or you can visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, you can call 877-8-HOPE-NY, or you can text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is also available for problem gambling. You can call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. You can void that if you live in Ontario. Bonus bets do expire 168 hours after issuance. So see dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights reserved.
As I mentioned, another ticket has been officially punched for the round of champions.
Damn.
So we now have 4 tickets punched. And it's Logan. I should have figured this out before.
I know.
Ilif. I know this is an I and then 2 L's.
This name kills me. It
or,
destroys my brain.
Or Ilif. I'm sorry for totally botching it, right? But everyone that had all the Appcore guys has to be pissed about what took place on Tuesday.
I am.
Because Tim Moore was cruising. And then they played Jake Anderson against the Rough Riders, who's now won, I think, 4 straight starts himself. Because I think he's got 4 wins, and then compared to the 10 for Croshaw.
Yeah.
Unger didn't score in that game. And then meanwhile, David Basin in this 7-4 game for the Avalanche, goal, power play assist, shorthanded assist. I was there. It was real, guys.
Yeah.
It was real.
I might be, we still have till 11 a.m. for those that haven't got your teams in. I might be making an adjustment to mine. I went as chalk as you can go, but chalk might be taking a different color here. But also credit to Logan. Congratulations, Logan. With Sam Bowes as his goaltender, you notice the difference there? And that's one of those keys with the fantasies. If you go chalk like I am, because I'm trying desperately to get into that round of champions, I'm sure Anthony is too with you, Neil, but chalk is kind of hard because there's a lot of people that go that way. So
yeah. So
You get that one different player like
just
he
that
did.
one game
Sammy
though
Bowes got
was
almost 30
18 points for David Basin. It was an 18-point fantasy
That's what
game.
I was gonna say. He
That's
there's a
what
59. When I saw that, I was like, wait,
Yeah,
where the hell?
So for those that are wondering how the math works, right? First goal, 3 points. Second goal, 3 more points plus a power play point. Now we're at 7. Power play assist, 3 points is 10. Shorthanded assists is 3 more points. That's 13. Another assist is 15. Another assist is actually 17-point game.
That's a
17
lot of
point
math of the year right there.
Like he didn't it's a 17-point game. No wonder he jumped to 59.
Yeah, because I thought he was around like Unger, O'Connell, like these guys that were at 40, 41, which he was, and then he's put up 18 and finished with 59 for the month. So when I saw that, I was like, what? I mean, good for him. I mean, is he running away with the MVP trophy right now? Possibly.
Costable too, right? To me, when we talk MVP, you got to think about the most valuable player to that team. Where if you take that player off the team, what is that team, right?
True.
Do you take David Basin off the Avalanche? They still were a first place team. Now they're just a first place wagon, right?
Correct.
You take Jack Costable off the Little Flyers. It's just a conversation, right? Costable scored 22 goals, right?
Yeah.
As a D. So
another record we might have to look up. Who's got the record for Ziggy Moroz? Maybe I feel like Ziggy Moroz was up there. He had like 19 or 21 year.
But
who's gonna be? Are we gonna have fantasy superlatives commission to put you on the spot?
We should,
right? Let's do that. MVP of fantasy. Cam Reardon's going to be up there. Another great month for him, 27.4.
Yep. Basin, as I mentioned, 59 points, Costable 33. Jeff mentions Reardon 27.4, Sam Bowes 29.8. Peter Unger from the Apple Corps 41.
He was excellent.
Kraushaw was mentioned 34.4. Cody
Some
Walker.
EHLPers too. Look at Jordan Dumont from the Chiefs, 27. Cody Walker, you mentioned,
39.
Harrison Kramer, we talked about a lot. Got a player of the week, 50 points. Yeah.
Right. So 1 month left. So right now, the round of champions is myself,
Neil Raven,
Marc-Andre Dumont, Joe LaChase, and Logan.
Oh, Joey LaChase. I forgot he's already there with you. Look at that. A couple of studs.
Right. So the window to put in your picks for February closes in, well, we're recording this right now. It's almost 9 o'clock. Closes in 2 hours. I don't want to give away many of my picks yet, but I will say I'm going Charlie DiMartino as my forward. Express EHLP leads the EHLP in scoring. So, but get your picks in last month to punch your ticket for the round of champions, everyone. So, yeah, the window is closing rapidly. But with that, we will jump to what to watch for.
And now here's what to watch for in the EHL and the EHLP.
What to watch for is presented by Flow Hockey, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action throughout the 2023-2024 season.
I think we'll keep doing this too, also the way that we've done the last couple weeks here, and just kind of go day by day. But let's start in the EHLP. Just to switch it up a little bit. No games the day that we're dropping this podcast. Tomorrow we have a Wolves Railers matchup at 11:45. Should be a good one. Avalanche Seahawks. Saturday, 4 games. Always great when the Little Flyers and 87s get together. I know Anthony got the call for that one on Saturday. Vermont Adirondack play. They play twice this weekend. That's maybe a little playoff preview, if you will.
And Anthony's favorite rank pool insuring arena, CIA.
Yes, the CIA. Sunday night, Express versus Rangers. That could be a big one. 2 teams, as we mentioned earlier, that we mentioned have kind of equal game count, and Valley has now passed them in the standings. So that will be key to keep an eye on that matchup. Express versus Avalanche on Tuesday. Seahawks Warriors, another playoff preview possibly on Wednesday. So that's the EHLP action this upcoming week. As for the EHL, the day that we dropped this podcast, again, February 1st, later on this afternoon, Maryland versus Apple Corps begins a two game series. That's a
sneaky good game.
That's a sneaky good series based off way both teams have been playing, right?
Yeah.
We also have, just like the EHL or EHLP, I should say, 87s versus Little Flyers. Anthony has that one tomorrow. Vermont versus Seacoast. That's big. Vermont now still has played more games than Valley, and Valley's just creeping right up behind them. So they need every point they can to keep themselves.
Well, it's interesting because the Lumberjacks and the Warriors have both been playing pretty well as of late.
Yeah,
I think they're
they
2-1 in their last 3. So
The Jacks took down the Warriors last weekend. That was big head to head.
Yeah, for sure. Saturday night in the EHL, Wizards versus Rangers. That's a good matchup.
Ooh, at the Bic.
If Corey and Rich are wondering if I'll be watching, not till Chase goes to bed, because Saturday's Chase's birthday. But yes, I will after Chase goes to bed. Yes, for sure. Railers Railers versus Avalanche on Sunday. That is a great matchup, I should say. It's a regular season championship matchup, right? Terriers Seahawks. That could be probably a play-in game preview on Monday. That's currently where they're at, 4-5. Little Flyers Maryland. Little Flyers took what I said earlier on this podcast personally. They're going to face Jake Hugesson on Monday. So
Alo and Mark Catron calling your phone.
Throwing that one out there. And then wrapping up the week, Wizards Seahawks next Wednesday. Railers Rough Riders. Railers looking for revenge. Rough Riders beat them last time they were out. So plenty of good games. And as we mentioned back in the South segment of this podcast, everything could look differently in 7 days. So.
It will. Don't worry. It will.
Oh, man. I may have more snow because randomly we got 4 inches of snow the other day. And I was like, I'm already over this. I know.
I am too. Is it spring yet?
So, but again, thank you to Dom Chirico for coming on the podcast this week. Great to have him on. Almost felt like a tryout for a future co-host with that microphone. I can't get over that.
He's got that silky smooth voice. He's got the microphone. Yeah, he's
doing PA for Brockport swimming and diving now too. Like
I'm like extra proud of him now that he's doing PA too.
We'll be watching as Brockport plays Oswego and Cortland this weekend, and of course all the games in the EHL and EHLP as well. If you can't make it out in person, you can always tune in and listen and watch on Flow Hockey. Anthony's got 2 calls coming up: 87s versus Little Flyers × 2.
Let's go, Ant.
So make sure to tune in for those, and we'll talk to you guys in another alumni next week.
It'll be a surprise. See you then, boys.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Learn more about us at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when our next podcast episode is released.